moment of reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call of members, Camilla? Thanks.
Mr. Francis, Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Here.
Mrs. McGinnis, Mr. Mignon,
Here.
Mr. Cook,
Here.
Mr. Pacifico, Mr. McCauley,
Here.
Mr. Pappas,
Here.
Mr. Romanowitz.
Thanks. Hey, before we get started, I was asked to remind everybody up here to turn on your mic when you speak so we can hear it on the broadcast. I'm also to announce that prior to this meeting, we had an executive session to discuss some personnel issues, which there's a ton of them. That being said, we can move to some special presentations. It's nice to see all these people here for good reasons. So first presentation is of All State Musicians.
Good evening. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce Mr. Larry Detweiler, who many of you know is our department chair for music. Kelly Detweiler is our director of the orchestra, and Kelly Sipes is our director of the choral ensembles. So with that, I will introduce Larry, who will explain to you and introduce our All State musicians. Would you two like to come up and hand out?
So thank you for having us here this evening to recognize the All-State musicians. So just a little bit about this process in case you don't know what goes into it. So this starts for our students in October, November, where they audition to go into the district level ensembles. At districts, they audition again to move on to the regional level. And then once they reach the regional level, they audition once again, where the top students get invited into one of the all-state ensembles. And this year, we're very honored to have 11 of our students participating in the all-state ensembles. So I'm going to introduce each of those. We're going to ask everybody if they could hold their applause till the end, please. Our first student is Andrew Sackett, who is a sophomore this year and will be participating in the all-state orchestra. Our second student is Eileen Agua, who is a junior and will be participating in all-state orchestra. Our next student is Noah Hillard, who's a senior this year, will be participating in all-state band. Laura Reed is a junior who will be participating in all-state choir. Skylar Rutherford is also a junior, will be participating in all-state choir. Gabriella Belden is a sophomore, will be participating in all-state choir. Jane Fox is a senior. She'll be participating in all-state choir. And this is actually Jane's second time at all-state. She was in all-state choir in her sophomore year. Leah St. Croix is a senior. She's going to be participating in all-state choir. And this is also Leah's second year, as she was in all-state choir last year. Mackenzie Colabaugh is a senior. She'll be participating in all-state band. This is Mackenzie's second year in all-state band, and she actually also qualified for all-state orchestra this year. Seth Goheen is a junior. He'll be participating in the all-state jazz band. This is Seth's second year in all-state. He was in all-state band last year. And Seth actually was very unique that he would have also qualified for all-state band and all-state orchestra this year. And then our last student, Sarah Saylor. Sarah is a senior. This year, Sarah is going to be participating in the all-state band. And Sarah is one of those very few that pulled off the trifecta. This is Sarah's third year in the all-state program. She was in all-state orchestra during her 10th grade year, all-state jazz last year as a junior. She'll be in all-state band this year, and she also would have qualified for all-state orchestra this year. And just in closing, once again, as we always try to do, we want to thank you for your support of the arts. We know that it's a huge financial commitment, a huge time commitment, and we feel very fortunate that, when we travel to these festivals, we see a lot of students from other districts. We feel very fortunate that we're in a district that values the arts and puts their time, energy, support behind those programs. So we just want to thank you for that.
Congratulations.
Next, we go from arts to athletics. I want to introduce to you Coach Ryan Barr. You want to come up, Coach? Coach Barr was recently recognized as the District 6 Junior High Coach of the Year and the Pennsylvania PIAA 3A Junior High Coach of the Year. The Altoona Junior High Wrestling Program had a near flawless season under his leadership. Coach Barr began coaching directly out of college from 2015 to 2021. He coached at the Altoona Youth Program and was an assistant coach at Young Guns in Altoona. He began coaching at the Altoona Junior High Program in 2021, and his teams have recorded 3 winning seasons under his leadership. This year's wrestling squad had 13 state qualifiers, 5 medalists, and 1 finalist, and finished second in the Pennsylvania Junior High rankings. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Coach Barr.
Thank you. Good evening. Just wanted to thank everyone for the recognition. I don't do very good with being recognized myself, so I'll talk more about the team just a couple minutes. She did mention we had 13 state qualifiers this season. That's almost 90% of the starting lineup. There's only 15 weight classes. So out of those 15 weight classes, we had 13 kids qualify for the Pennsylvania State Tournament. That's pretty impressive in and of itself. Then out of those 13, we had 5 state medalists. One guy actually medaled at both the Pennsylvania Junior Wrestling State Championships and the Keystone State Championships as well. Mike Collier, he's a 9th grader. And then we had 1 state runner-up, which was my son, Declan. And then he just most recently, was that last weekend? Last weekend, actually became a national champion at the National High School Coaches Association down in Virginia Beach. He had 6 wins en route to a championship title at 105 pounds. So that's pretty impressive. That's very, very, very difficult to do, even at the middle school level. So it was a pretty impressive season. We did go 16-1 in dual meets. The one loss we had already beaten that team prior in the season. So I don't want to make excuses, but we had a number of kids out of the lineup during that match. So we probably shouldn't even have lost it. Pretty much should have had a perfect season, but we won every tournament we were in. The Shikellamy Duels, Huntington tournament, the Connellsville Duels. We actually beat Connellsville Junior High team who had not been beaten in 2 years. Over 2 years, 2.5 years, they hadn't had a loss. And we knocked them off, which was pretty impressive. The kids were super, super happy about that. It was amazing to see how they all came together because that was a goal of ours from the beginning of the season. And they were so motivated. That was kind of the thing they talked about all season long was beating Connellsville. And when they did it and to see them accomplish that goal, I mean, it was phenomenal the way they came together and just wrestled as a team and encouraged each other and had each other's back through the whole year and the whole season. It was pretty awesome. So do want to thank the administration and the support and the other coaches. I see my buddy Joel Gilbert back here. He's always there for us. And, I thank you for the recognition very much. Thank you.
Ryan's team finished second in the state. We've never even been ranked, let alone second in the state ahead of powers such as Bishop McCourt, Connellsville, and some others. So bringing notoriety and a depth of expectation as we move forward here.
We're only building. We're not going back.
Congratulations. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Ryan is also my first cousin. I've been telling you guys how accomplished I am as an athlete, and it runs in our family. So he's living proof of it, much more than I am. So thank you, Ryan. Congratulations.
I think it's important too to notice like the elementary and the junior high programs are so important for the high school program. So thank you, Coach Barr, for leading those young kids because that's going to be pivotal to the success of the high school program. So thank you for your time.
All right, it's that time of the meeting where we ask if any citizens would like to get up and speak. Seeing that there's not many, I might dispense of reading the the warning. So okay, so nobody's Katie, no? Okay. Well, thanks for your attendance. So hearing that there's nobody, I won't bore us all with that diatribe. Next on the agenda, seeking approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes from April 2nd, 2024. Can we do them both? And the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from March 18th, 2024. Can I have a motion to approve those meeting minutes? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Passed. Next, we'll move on to finance. We have a list of payments, financial reports, PSBA membership renewal for those at home. That's the School Boards Association, Pennsylvania School Board Association membership renewal. We have honorariums, addendum to contracted services agreement. And then F is contracted services, ESSRNs. Can we vote on all those, or would anybody like to remove any of those for discussion? Okay, so I am asking for a motion to approve items O through F under section 5 finance. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Would anybody like to discuss any of these items? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right. Next, we have under item 6, policy, first reading of some policies that were reviewed during the recent policy committee, which I am the chair of. Would anybody like to discuss? Well, let's ask for a motion to approve these, the first reading of these policies.
So moved.
Second. Would anybody like to discuss any of the policies listed here? Well, could you turn your mic on? Thank you. Appreciate it.
The vacation bank, from 5 to 20, is that going to be used for retirement also? Yeah, can they on the policy, vacation days?
So this actually is, this is an older fix. This was adjusted a number of years back. In terms of looking at the total number of days that you can be paid out at retirement if you qualify and are eligible through special pay plan. We actually have provisions in the comp plan agreements that allow for up to 30, depending on your classification. And there were a number of employees that are currently with us that were grandfathered in at up to 45. The intent of this was to avoid building large banks of vacation days that would then come out at a per diem payout rate at retirement. So there was a limitation on the number of days that you can maintain and then get paid out within your bank. That number under our current agreements is 30. Again, a number of years back, there were a number of people that were grandfathered in at a total of 45. So yes, this would be, if they did not utilize all of their vacation time, they could be paid out at a per diem rate of up to those numbers.
In another one on your public board meetings, did I see a public comment? I didn't know that the public could comment while the meeting was going on unless there was a specific item that wasn't on the original agenda. It says, I think there's a spot in here about public comment in the middle of the
If
meeting.
you would do a verbal add to the agenda,
Right.
which we will very, very rarely do, under the provisions in the new modifications in the Sunshine Law, you have to allow for any type of public comment,
This
even if
said
it's
it-
within the.
Right, this said in the middle of a meeting. I
If
don't,
you would have a motion that would not, that would fall later, that was added, that was not part of the 24-hour published agenda, then you'd be required to allow for public comment. Or if there was a modification to a motion that was made or that was being proposed the night of a meeting or the day of a meeting. Jen, is
Well-
that accurate?
Yes, it is.
I-
With the
if-
Coleman case, essentially what that has done has made it very difficult to do amendments during the middle of the meetings unless there's very limited exceptions, unless you meet those. But say, for example, you would have to have a public comment period
Right.
because that was not given.
that's at the beginning of the meeting, a public comment. If you add something to the agenda, the public comments at the beginning of the meeting for that specific item.
Correct. And then what we recommend when you add an item during the middle of the meeting after that public comment period, that you open it up to the public to comment again on that new item because that was added outside of that initial period since it wasn't on that posted agenda 24 hours before the meeting.
Yeah, I question, if you say so, you're the solicitor, you should know, but I question it. I don't know if that's right. But I thought that everything was done at the beginning of the meeting, not when the item comes up later on at the meeting.
Correct. What we normally recommend when we know that there may be possible additions to the agenda, we try to put them on earlier on so that the public comment period would cover that. But say, for an example, there is a taxpayer that, would comment with the Sunshine Amendment process, it created some additions to do that, but now it's more limited with that
Yeah,
Coleman
all right.
case.
Thank
But
you.
yeah.
Sorry, Paula. I've lost my train of thought. So we already had a motion in a second. So asking for approval by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to section 7, education, where we have a long list of things. Just for those watching, just so you know, it seems like we moved through these things pretty quick. I would like to think that all of us take the time before the meeting, whether it's over the weekend or whatever, to read all this stuff. So we're sort of prepared for these things. If we have any questions, we're prepared to ask them here. So under 7, education, we have A, 2024-25 elementary summer school programming. We have B, AAHS 2024 summer school proposal. We have C, elementary field trips. D, secondary field trips. E, grant approval, UPMC Foundation grant. F, grant approval, Highmark Foundation School Grants Program. G, 2024-25 expected state and federal grant approval. H, Altoona Public Library COVID-19 PA multi-purpose community facilities program grant. That was a challenge. AASD adult education proposal for additional recurring state funds. J, Ignite Learning Ramp Education Solutions. Under K, we have 2024-25 ESL Consortium Agreement between the Altoona Area School District and Allegheny Intermediate Unit 8. And sorry, I have to scroll. And we have under L, PA Student Teacher Support Program. And M, we have volunteer approval. Would anybody like to carve any of those out for an individual vote, or are we fine with voting on them all? Looks like we are. So I will ask for a motion to approve items A through M under education. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any discussion regarding any of these?
Just real quick, the field trips, secondary chaperones are noted. But on the elementary, there's not a chaperone count on each trip. So, it'd be nice to know how many parents or chaperones are going with the kids.
Sure, we can get that spreadsheet updated. We'll have that moving
Not
forward.
just for future reference, what.
Absolutely. So we use a ratio. Depending on the number of students attending, we require the number of adults based on a ratio with the number of students. It's typically 5 to 7 to 1. And we typically have more than enough elementary volunteers through our parent pool, and then obviously our instructors that want to attend these field trips. They're usually pretty fun events. The other piece that we make sure of is we have a nurse that is attending all of these field trips as well for anything that would happen, medication administration, et cetera. So our nursing department does an excellent job at covering those, but we also rely on a lot of our parents who are also certified nurses in some level of capacity to serve in the role of the nurse, on those trips. So it's a vital
Just to
part.
be clear, just that we're, I don't know, solicitor, you could answer this question, is that we have those chaperones identified, not identified, but the number of them in that motion, because they come up and say there's no chaperones and something happens, you don't have the chaperones listed. So just to be on the safe side.
We'll update that and make sure it's consistent with both levels. Thank you.
Okay, so can you tell me, do we have an idea of high school summer school yet? What's taking place? Because I see on here with PE session 2, it says in person, but nothing else does. So I'm just curious.
They're all in person.
Okay,
We were asking pretty much every level of teacher, whether they were certified in the content area or not. We may have to get some teachers emergency certified for some of the areas, but Mark, correct, we have enough teachers to do in-person summer school for all areas.
great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor of approving items A through M under 7, education, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move on to 8, personnel, and it was quite a list. It was one of the long, 20 pages or something of personnel agenda items. Sorry to see a lot of good people retiring, but happy for them, obviously. I'm looking for a motion to approve item A under personnel. Do I have a second? Thank you. Would anybody like to discuss any of the items?
Just one thing, I looked through this list and there's a lot of people I was on the board that got hired, since I've been on the board, and it shows my age. But I remember correctly, I think Lori, I was on the board when you got hired. There was a person that came up to me after the meeting, building and grounds director. He said I made a good hire, so I just wanted to tell you. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to piggyback on that and thank Lori for her service. And we have a lot more tenured teachers on here again this month. So I'm sad to see them go. Happy for them, obviously, but we have big shoes to fill.
But you did get your school power wash. It's coming. So you're leaving on a good note. Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, all in favor of approving item A under personnel, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to business operations. We have item A, capital projects, list of payments for approval. We have Pleasant Valley Roof Engineering. We have fiscal year 2023 state and local cybersecurity grant program. Junior high power washing for Lori. We have summer food service, healthcare premium rates, rental insurance agreement, request for proposals, copy paper, junior high turf change order. Would we like to vote on all of those, or would anybody like to carve any of those out in particular? Items A through I. Okay. Looking for a motion to approve items A through I under section 9, business operations.
So moved.
How about a second? Have a second. Would anybody like to discuss any of these items? All right. Looking to approve items A through I then, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay. Under 10, new business. We have athletics use of facilities, another athletics use of facilities, Vision Benefits of America plan renewal rate, flexible spending account renewal, health savings account renewal, COBRA retiree administrator approval, Learn Well agreement, and election of IU8 board members. And just let me provide some instruction on the IU8 board member. We don't actually have to vote on that, right? We could carve that out and just turn this in with our own vote on these people.
Correct. That's how we've always done it.
Okay. So we don't need to approve this election as a board. So if I could ask that you make your votes, sign the document, and return to Camilla, we'll fulfill that obligation. So we will essentially be voting on items A through G. Okay? So seeking a motion to approve items A through G under new business.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Would anybody like to discuss any of these items? Okay. So we're looking to approve items A through G. And I need to ask you if you would signify by saying aye.
No.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any committee chair reports? No? Board president's report? No? Ms. Klein always has a report.
Yes, today is a bit of a long one, but we'll start with schools will be closed on Tuesday, April 23rd for the primary election. And on April 25th, there'll be a senior citizens dance available to our senior public. It starts at 6 p.m. and will be in the high school field house. Now, it's time to get ready for concert season. There are a couple coming up. First is the AAJHS Spring Jazz Concert on Tuesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. at the junior high school. The AAJHS Chorus Concert will be on April 26th at 7 p.m. This will be held at the high school. The AAJHS Band Concert will be on April 30th at 7 p.m. at the junior high school, and the high school chorus concert will be on May 2nd, 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. The AAJHS Orchestra Concert will be on May 7th at 7 p.m. at the junior high, while the AHS Orchestra Concert will be on May 9th at 7 at the high school. And finally, the AAJHS sixth grade chorus and orchestra concert will be on May 14th at 7 p.m. at the junior high, and the AHS band concert will be on May 16th at 7 p.m. at the high school. And I also must say, the jazz band concert is tomorrow at 7. And then PSSA and Keystones testing will be taking place over the next few weeks. Those who are testing will be in school, and those who are not taking the test will be asynchronous. Now for some past announcements, the AHS held a successful Spring Fling dance this past Thursday for all AHS freshmen and sophomores. Additionally, we had a nice visit from AHS alumnus Kevin Gibbons this past Friday. He came with his family and was able to meet with some of his former teachers and even some current students. Additionally, congratulations are in order for the cast and crew of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. They put on a great performance and showcased many talents, and hopefully are expecting some Isaacs Awards to come. And that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. Your report is always like the highlight of the night, so I appreciate it. Brad, anything to say?
Very briefly, just to echo, if you did not get a chance to attend our spring musical production, it never ceases to amaze me, the level of talent of our students and our staff, the amazing amount of hard work that went into that, and the quality of the production that high school students are putting on, up to and including the technical pieces and the directing being done by our students. So kudos and congratulations to Ben, all of his staff members, Mr. Neely and the high school staff. Again, the talent of our high school students, as evidenced earlier with our 12 all-staters. And then the musical group was super impressive. Staff were involved. We had some elementary students, so super impressive. And again, Ben keeps setting the bar higher and higher. I hope he realizes that. So he never ceases to disappoint. Mrs. Mangan, congratulations. I begrudgingly, I knew the morning she called and said, hey, I need to come over and talk to you. And I'm like, okay, Lori's only calling me to come over and talk for one reason. She's arrived at the decision to retire. But I've worked pretty much my entire career with Lori and have nothing but utmost respect for you and what you bring. Wish you nothing but the best. One thing that we failed to do, we introduced Mr. Robinson in our executive session, but I do want to welcome Trevor Robinson to our central office staff. Trevor will be taking over for Mr. Endler as the Director of Building and Grounds effective July 1. Trevor's been with us as the Assistant Director for a number of years. He's an Altoona graduate. He can speak to my athletic talent as well, because I used to dust him all the time. But more importantly, Trevor brings an energy and a vibrance to the department that will be welcome. And I'm very excited to welcome Trevor to our administrative team. So Trevor, welcome. And the last piece would be just a message to our families or anyone out there in the internet world watching. State testing is upon us, as Julie had mentioned, beginning next week. And although state testing is not the be all end all of education, it is very important. So I would like to stress with our parents and with our students to get a good night's sleep, make sure that you're eating well and attend school on those days and make sure that you're putting forth your best effort, because although it is not the sole indicator of how well we are doing in the Altoona Area School District, it is an important indicator. So once again, do your best. We hope that we've prepared you as well as we can, and get used to the modified schedule for a couple of days, and we'll kind of move on from there. One last thing, the Curve Classic is this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We have very high expectations for our Altoona Mountain Lion baseball team. So if you have the opportunity Thursday at 12:30 and with a win at 5:30 on Friday, come out and support the Altoona Mountain Lions at the Curve Classic. I don't believe there's a charge for entry, but they do have concessions available, and we have a very good team this year. So I'd like to see as many of you out there as possible. And our track team continues to do extremely well. I think, is this weekend the Altoona Invite? Next weekend. Yeah. So track's in full swing. Volleyball's in full swing. A lot of our spring sports are up and running despite the deluge of rain that we've had. Fields are starting to become playable, and we're getting out there and getting the job done. So it's an exciting time of the year. We hope to have a very good close of the year. And as again, Julie mentioned, next Tuesday, classes will be closed for students as we will be welcoming a number of poll stations into our school district. So best of luck to the pollsters as they get out for a very important civic duty that's going on. But thank you.
Thanks, Brad. We'll move on to number 12. For information only, we have the policy committee summary, and we have the payment of college credits February revision. Under 13, is there an employee union's response? Seeing none. Is there a middle management? No. Solicitor, is there anything you'd like to share?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. That being said, I will seek a motion to adjourn this meeting. We got a second. All in favor? Any discussion? Obviously not. All in favor signify by saying aye.